Khalistani extremists may want to call that this is just an ideological fight, but the fact is there is a full-fledged gangster criminal network. There is a Hawala channel money that is sourced through extortion, intimidation, murders, killings, abduction, and then is invested in other incentives. And that's what, at least on Indian soil, India is ensuring that does not get a boost. And that's why there have been raids that are taking place in the past few hours. We are being told that anyone who's linked to terrorist Arshdala, Lawrence Bishnoi, Sukha Dunke, about 53 locations in 7 states, different states. There are dozen suspects who have been detained, arms and ammunition have been seized. Raids are aimed at dismantling the terror gangster drug smuggler nexus. Anyone providing any sort of logistics associated with the gangs and operatives. Networks of foreign Khalistani extremists, conspiracies of targeted killings, funding, extortion, all of this under the scanner. And this is to ensure while the terrorists may be based or getting shelter in Canada, India cannot do much about that. But what it can do, that it's on its own soil, ensure that the gangsters, criminals, terrorists do not get a boost. Listen in now to this conversation that Shivarur had with Abhijit Iyer Mitra. He's a senior research fellow at the Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies, and he makes and in fact answers some questions that will put in perspective of what's been happening.
Prime Minister Trudeau made these allegations, and we've been seeing how this story has taken many different twists and turns. The latest, of course, has been Dr. Jaishankar. I just read out those 5 questions. I'm going to ask you those questions, Abhijit, one by one, and I want your perspective on them. Number 1, Abhijit, relations appear to be worsening between the two countries. If you look at what the External Affairs Minister said in New York today, it didn't seem like things are cooling down. But the real question is, what next? How would you answer that, Abhijit?
Look, Shiv, unfortunately, this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Because you have sources in government, I have sources in government. I don't know what your sources are telling you, but mine are just not ready to back down. If anything, they are going to go after more properties. And I think today itself, there's been a raid, an NIA raid against about 50 Punjab-based organized criminals. This is going to get a lot worse. The first list of 19 OCI cancellations was just the beginning. This is going to slowly. They don't want a single innocent person to suffer, but they are tracing every single video of protests, etc., to go higher up and higher up and higher up. Second, remember, Arindam Bagchi in his press conference had demanded parity of staff. You haven't seen anything happen out here. We're waiting for something big to come out from the Canadian side to enact that parity. Because if Canada refuses to withdraw staff, we will force that parity on them. The third thing, which I know for a fact that is being discussed, is the shutting down of the Chandigarh consulate. Now, remember, we have 1 High Commission and 2 embassies out there. They have 1 High Commission and 3 consulates out there. That is not parity. That is 1 plus 2 equals 1 plus 3 doesn't work. And Chandigarh, if we shut it down, it will be fabulously popular with Canadian diplomats who view it as a punishment posting. They don't want to go to Chandigarh. It's kind of win-win. But there's lots more steps. I'm not going to get into the details, but there's so much more that's being considered. I have never seen a government this resolute. I think the last time I saw this was when the entire Devyani Khobragade incident happened.
Now, the good part is that prominent members of the Sikh community are taking on the Khalistanis and are starting to speak up. And all the way from the USA, where Sant Singh Chatwal, he's a very prominent Indian-American businessman, has lived in USA but still has roots and ties to India and specifically to Punjab. And he's done with this Khalistan extremism. And he's asking a very important question. He's saying that Sikhs do not support this Khalistan. Who really are? Listen in to what he has to say.
I'm very clear that there are very less people over here. I don't know who's funding them. Those who have never been to Punjab. I'm proud to be Sikh. I'm in this country more than 50 years. I visited India, and the leadership of Modi ji has done a great job. He opened for Sikhs Kartarpur corridor. He had done a Bal Divas Day, and he has done a lot for Sikhs. Sikhs are in a very prominent position in India. We have our Sikh one of the minister, Hardeep Singh Puri.
Where there are terrorists and extremists, Pakistan cannot be far behind either, isn't it? And that's why there is now a suspicion of the involvement of a toolkit that's being generated by the ISI in Pakistan, taking also from the Pakistan citizens who are based abroad in different countries to help the Khalistani extremists push out a very specific collaborated campaign and agendas as propaganda against India. There in the last few days, remember, efforts are being made to fuel the Khalistani conspiracy, at least on social media, which means there are hashtags. There are specific words, keywords that are used that will target India, articles that are put forth one by one. Intelligence agencies have identified, according to them, hundreds of social media accounts that are fueling very specific, coordinated campaign. It's not isolated. It's not about ideology. These are called coordinated campaigns against India. There are inflammatory posts. There are hashtags. There is provocative anti-India content. And these are being posted not by verified, but by dubious accounts. And that is why it's led to believe that there is a Pakistan ISI involvement also here as a toolkit.